The Council of the Galactic Concord convened in silence, a rare occurrence in a chamber known for heated debates. Holograms of alien dignitaries hovered over their respective seats, their expressions dimmed by dread. From the avian-like Coralli with their feathers drooping to the amphibious Turcan whose skin shifted to pale hues of despair, every species represented shared the same fear: extinction. The Krallen swarm has breached the Helios line, said High Strategist Licker of the Viner, his voice resonating through the chamber. 3 more colonies have fallen in the past standard week. We've lost millions. The holomap projected the galaxy, now marred with jagged red lines marking the Krallen's relentless advance. The swarm was a nightmare given form, a parasitic hive mind that consumed everything in its path, adapting to any technology or strategy deployed against it. Entire fleets had been obliterated, and the combined strength of the Concord was proving inadequate. Our defenses are insufficient, murmured Ambassador Cavani of the Coralli, her talons tapping nervously. We need a new solution, or this council will be a memorial to our civilizations. A pause hung in the air before Ambassador Varric of the Turcan broke the silence. There is one option left. Humanity. At once, the chamber erupted in protests. Humans? The Deathworlders? One delegate spat, his voice incredulous. You would entrust our survival to them? Their aggression will bring chaos, another snapped. Have you forgotten their reputation? The term Deathworlders had become synonymous with terror in the Concord. Humanity hailed from Earth, a planet classified as a death world for its extreme conditions. Violent storms, volcanic eruptions, and predators at every level of its ecosystem. The fact that humans not only survived but thrived on such a planet defied logic to most Concord species. Their adaptability, aggression, and sheer resilience were legendary and unnerving. Varric raised his webbed hand, silencing the outbursts. I am aware of the risks, but tell me, what choice do we have? Every fleet, every strategy we've employed has failed. If we do not act, the Krallen will consume us all. The humans may be dangerous, but they are the only species capable of meeting the swarm's brutality head-on. Licker leaned forward, his crimson eyes narrowing. And if they turn that same brutality on us once the Krallen is gone? Cavani's voice softened. If we do nothing, there won't be a Concord for them to threaten. Reluctantly, the Council agreed. A transmission was sent to Earth, its message simple: help us or we all die. 3 days later, the humans answered. The Concord's diplomatic fleet awaited nervously near a neutral station in the Zarin system. Their sleek, silver ships dwarfed by the behemoth that emerged from hyperspace. The Resolute, humanity's flagship, was a testament to human engineering. Where alien ships were elegant and streamlined, the Resolute was raw power, angular, armored, bristling with weaponry. As the humans disembarked, the assembled aliens took an instinctive step back. They were taller and broader than most Concord species, their movements precise and deliberate. Each human wore a combat uniform, and their expressions were calm but piercing, as if they were already assessing potential threats. Leading them was Captain Elena Drake, her presence commanding yet oddly reassuring. She stepped forward, her dark eyes meeting the hesitant gaze of Ambassador Cavani. Ambassador, Drake said, her tone steady, we received your call. Humanity stands ready to assist. But we do this on one condition: we lead this fight our way. No interference. The Council representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Licker finally spoke. And what exactly does your way entail, Captain? Drake's lips curved into a small, humorless smile. It means we don't retreat, we don't negotiate, and we don't stop until the swarm is ashes. We're not here to defend. We're here to end this. Her words sent a ripple through the crowd. The Concord was used to cautious strategies, prioritizing evacuation and containment. The humans' direct approach was alien in every sense. You would risk everything on reckless aggression? Varric asked, his voice tinged with skepticism. Drake turned to him, her expression hardening. Reckless aggression is what wins against something like the Krallen. You've seen what they do, how they adapt, how they overwhelm. The only way to stop them is to hit harder, faster, and with more firepower than they can process. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by Kivani. "Very well, Captain. The Concorde will grant you full operational command." Drake nodded. "Then let's get to work." The Resolute wasted no time. Within hours, the humans were analyzing battle data, modifying Concorde ships to accommodate human weaponry, and strategizing for their first engagement with the swarm. Among the Concorde officers, whispers spread about the humans' confidence and their audacity. Stories circulated about Earth's harsh environment and humanity's survival against impossible odds. One Corelli technician observed a human soldier effortlessly hefting equipment that weighed twice his body mass and muttered, "They're more terrifying than the swarm." The chapter ends with the Resolute and its escort fleet jumping to the front lines, Drake standing on the bridge with her crew. As the stars blurred into streaks of light, she muttered to herself, "They needed Deathworlders. Now they're going to see what we're made of." The Resolute emerged from hyperspace into chaos. The skies above the besieged colony of Laraxus III were thick with crawling ships, their organic, spiked hulls glinting like predatory insects in the pale light of the system's twin suns. Below, the planet's surface burned, a patchwork of fire and ruin where the swarm had torn through cities and defenses alike. "Status report," Captain Elena Drake commanded, her voice calm despite the grim scene displayed on the bridge's monitors. "Concorde forces are scattered," replied Lieutenant Vargas, the tactical officer. "The colony's main defense grid is down. They're holding out in isolated pockets, but the Kralin have overrun most sectors." Drake studied the tactical display. Red markers, Kralin forces, swarmed the map, while blue markers, Concorde defenders, flickered and disappeared with alarming frequency. Her eyes narrowed. "Open a channel to the Concorde fleet," she ordered. The screen shifted to show Admiral Kivani of the Corelli, her feathers disheveled and her expression panicked. "Captain Drake," she stammered, "we cannot hold. We've ordered a retreat to regroup." "No." Drake's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "There's no regrouping with the swarm. You retreat, they pursue. You scatter, they consume. The only way out of this is through." Kivani hesitated, her gaze darting to the humans behind Drake, their faces hard and resolute. "What do you propose?" "Follow our lead. We'll punch through their lines and secure the colony's central hub. Your forces back us up, hold the gaps, and reinforce the civilians. If we hit hard enough, we can turn this tide." The alien admiral looked unconvinced, but she had no better option. "Very well. We will follow." Drake turned back to her crew. "All hands to battle stations. Deploy ground teams and prepare for atmospheric entry. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The Resolute dove into the fray, its engines roaring as it cut through the swarm's front lines. Human pilots, known for their daring, maneuvered their smaller fighters with terrifying precision, weaving through enemy fire to strike critical targets. The Kralin, used to the more cautious tactics of the Concorde, were unprepared for the sheer audacity of the humans' assault. On the surface, Captain Drake's ground team landed amidst the chaos. The city was a wasteland of shattered buildings and smoking craters, with Kralin drones scuttling through the ruins like oversized insects. "Stay sharp," Drake said, her voice steady as she led her squad through the rubble. "These things adapt fast." The team moved with practiced efficiency, their kinetic rifles tearing through Kralin drones with devastating force. Flamethrowers followed, ensuring the swarm's adaptive biology had no chance to regenerate. As they pushed toward the colony's central hub, they encountered a group of Concorde defenders pinned down by Kralin forces. The aliens' morale was on the brink of collapse until the humans appeared. One Turcan soldier stared in awe as Drake and her team tore through the Kralin lines with brutal precision. "Are they always like this?" he asked another Concorde soldier. "They're from Earth," came the reply, as though that explained everything. By the time the humans reached the hub, the tide of the battle had shifted. Concorde forces, emboldened by the humans' relentless advance, rallied behind them, pushing back the swarm. Drake stood amidst the ruins, her armor scorched but intact, as she watched the remaining Kralin forces retreat into the sky. "First contact with the swarm," she muttered, surveying the battlefield. Not bad for a warm-up, but even as the humans celebrated their victory, the Krallen Hive was already adapting, preparing for the next encounter. Drake knew the war was far from over. "Enjoy this win while you can," she told her team. "The swarm won't make the same mistake twice." The battle for Korvax Prime began with silence, a haunting calm before the storm. The planet's orbital defenses floated like sentinels against the void, bristling with Concord weapons. Below, sprawling cities and industrial centers bustled as the final preparations for evacuation continued. But everyone knew the truth. There would be no escape if the Krallen swarm broke through. Captain Elena Drake stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her expression carved from steel. The tactical display before her showed an overwhelming mass of red Krallen forces approaching in a dense wave, their ships pulsating like living organisms. The Concord fleet formed a defensive line, outnumbered but determined. "Status?" Drake asked, her tone sharp. Lieutenant Vargas replied grimly. "The Krallen are using their adaptive Hive ships as a vanguard. They're targeting our most critical defenses, orbital platforms, power grids, anything that disrupts their advance." Drake nodded, her mind already racing. The swarm's tactics had grown more sophisticated since Laraxus III. The humans had forced the Krallen to adapt, and now they faced an enemy even more dangerous than before. "Patch me through to the fleet," Drake ordered. Admirals and captains of various alien species appeared on her screen, their faces tense. Drake wasted no time. "Listen carefully," she began. "The Krallen aren't just coming to overwhelm us. They're here to learn, to adapt to whatever we throw at them. If we stick to defensive tactics, we're handing them the victory. We need to hit them where it hurts. Fast and hard." Admiral Cavani of the Corrali tilted her head. "You propose abandoning the defensive line?" "I propose striking first," Drake countered. "We use the Resolute to spearhead an assault on their Hive ships. They're the swarm's command centers. Take them out, and we throw their forces into disarray. While we draw their fire, the rest of the fleet targets their adaptive drones and cuts off their reinforcements." The alien commanders hesitated. It was a bold, almost suicidal plan, but they had seen what humanity could do at Laraxus III. Slowly, they nodded their agreement. The assault began with fire and fury. The Resolute led the charge, barreling into the heart of the Krallen fleet. Its railguns and missile systems lit up the void, punching through the swarm's organic ships. Concord forces followed in its wake, emboldened by the humans' audacity. On the surface, ground forces prepared for the inevitable breach. Drake's team, deployed to Korvax Prime's capital, worked tirelessly to fortify key positions. As the battle raged, Drake received a transmission from Vargas. "Captain, we've identified the Krallen Hive ship. It's heavily shielded, but if we breach it, we can disrupt the entire swarm." Drake's jaw tightened. "Prepare the Resolute for a direct run. We're taking it down." The final push was brutal. The Resolute took heavy damage as it closed in on the Hive ship, its shields buckling under the relentless assault. But Drake refused to falter. "Fire all remaining torpedoes," she shouted. The torpedoes struck true, shattering the Hive ship in a massive explosion. The Krallen fleet faltered, their coordination unraveling. On the bridge, Drake allowed herself a grim smile. "We turned the tide today," she said. "But this isn't over." Not yet. The battle for Korvax Prime was won, but the war with the Krallen was far from finished. The final battle against the Krallen swarm took place in the uncharted region known as the Dead Zone, a desolate sector where even light seemed to hesitate. The swarm had been driven to this remote corner of the galaxy after months of relentless pursuit by the humans and the Concord forces. Here, the hive mind planned to regroup, adapt, and launch a devastating counterattack. But Captain Elena Drake had no intention of letting that happen. On the bridge of the Resolute, Drake stood tall, her armor scuffed but her resolve unshaken. Around her, the crew moved with practiced precision, their faces lined with exhaustion but alight with determination. "We've tracked their main hive cluster to this sector," Lieutenant Vargas reported, gesturing to the tactical display. "Scans show an unprecedented concentration of bioorganic mass. This is their central hive, Captain." If we destroy it, we destroy the swarm. Drake nodded. And if we fail, they'll regroup stronger than ever. The assembled Concord fleet, bolstered by the humans' innovations and strategies, hung in formation just outside the dead zone. Their combined firepower was impressive, but everyone knew this would be a fight to the death. Drake opened a channel to the fleet. The faces of alien commanders filled the screen, their expressions grim but resolute. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "We fought hard to get here, and now we have a chance to end this nightmare. The Kralin are cornered, but don't underestimate them. They'll throw everything they have at us." She paused, scanning the faces before her. "Today, we fight not just for survival, but for the future of every species in this galaxy. Humanity stands with you. Let's finish this." The fleet surged forward, plunging into the heart of the dead zone. The Kralin were waiting. The void erupted into chaos as the swarm unleashed a torrent of bioorganic projectiles and adaptive drones. The Concord fleet responded in kind, their weapons lighting up the darkness. At the center of the carnage, the Resolute pushed forward, its guns blazing. On board, Drake's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus all fire on their hive structures. We need to cripple their command network before they can adapt." The human strategy was simple but devastating. Overwhelm the swarm with raw, unrelenting firepower, giving them no time to evolve countermeasures. Concord forces followed suit, their own tactics honed by months of fighting alongside humanity. As the battle reached its peak, Drake received a critical report from Vargas. "Captain, their central hive is shielded by an adaptive energy field. We'll need to get close, dangerously close, to disable it." Drake didn't hesitate. "Plot a course. We'll take the Resolute in ourselves." The flagship plunged toward the central hive, weathering an onslaught of Kralin fire. Inside, the crew worked in grim silence, knowing the risk. "Target their core," Drake ordered as they closed in. "Fire everything we have." The Resolute unleashed a barrage of torpedoes, piercing the hive's defenses and striking its core. The resulting explosion was blinding, sending shockwaves through the swarm. In the aftermath, silence fell over the battlefield. The Kralin ships, now leaderless, drifted aimlessly before Concord forces moved in to eliminate the stragglers. On the bridge of the Resolute, Drake leaned heavily against the console, exhaustion threatening to overtake her. But she allowed herself a small smile. "It's done," she said quietly. The victory at the dead zone marked the end of the Kralin threat. Humanity's fierce tactics and unyielding resolve had not only saved the galaxy but also reshaped the Concord's perception of them. Once feared as Deathworlders, humans were now hailed as heroes. In the weeks that followed, as the Concord began rebuilding, Captain Drake and her crew returned to Earth. They had fought not for glory but because they understood the harsh truth of survival. Sometimes, only those forged in the crucible of adversity could face the darkest threats. And they had delivered.